Negotiators in Copenhagen seem completely hung up over the disputes between rich and poor nations. They can't agree on emissions targets, financial aid for developing countries, or even how to measure and monitor each other's emissions. But an agreement might be possible on preserving rainforests. The Times has 5 reporters working at the conference as it moves into its final days. I spoke Tuesday morning with Andy Revkin.
Money remains a big issue. I was just with the Chinese delegation and they gave a briefing and they said they reminded everybody that the obligation of rich countries to compensate poor countries for risks from climate change derives from the 1992 treaty, the original framework convention, and the language says we're supposed to pay the entire incremental cost of them dealing with environmental risks that come with climate change. So that's a very large number. That's where they're in this sort of hundreds of billions of dollars range. And there's nothing close to that. Today, Connie Hedegaard, the Danish official running the negotiations, she said without financial innovation, without some new pot of money identified, hopefully it won't be an Enron-style thing, she cannot foresee a way to satisfy that level of need.
But besides money, now there's an interesting debate going on about monitoring emissions, about U.S. and
Right.
China monitoring each other's emissions, and particularly the Chinese, I gather, are objecting to that. Describe that a little bit more.
Well, the tension there is that the U.S. and particularly the Senate wants to see this enormous economic power being truthful about what its emissions would be, so that when there's a reduction or a slowdown in the growth of emissions from China, that it's measurable, reportable, and verifiable. MRV is the term of art here. And China's strongly resisting language that has any concreteness to it. The latest text that emerged today, that was sort of a distillation of where various countries are, has this big "to be elaborated" thing in brackets and italics. I just talked to Ed Miliband, the British chief official here, and I said, you know, has anyone come up with any kind of language that they think could bridge that gap between China and the U.S.? And he kind of shrugged. And here we are, you know, it's just 2 more days of ministerial level talks before the bosses come.
Okay, we'll check in with you again tomorrow.
Okay.